I arrived in Paris. The city was quite overwhelming and lived up to its reputation. Stunning views. I made my way to a charmingly decorated neighborhood near the Eiffel Tower. It had some rooms to let to patrons, as well as a nice assortment of little curio shops and freshly decorated cafes that could offer a nice espresso and croissant. I found a room and made reservations for a few days' stay. I was slightly distracted by the proximity of the Tower of Lights, and was even more surprised that my calculations of the proper coordinates of the hidden toy boat message. It pointed to directly at the location of the tower. I needed to find a way to investigate the matter, and I pondered my next moves. I would assume the role of interested tourist, and walk the short distance to the site. It was a lovely afternoon and the sun shone warmly on the city. While the activities of the city bustled around me, I was content to simply relax and ease my mind. Again, is this simply my imagination? I felt consumed to find out. Either way, I walked to the majestic site. I sat and took in the surrounding. There was nothing out of the ordinary here, no great revelation for me. I paid notice to the restroom facility close to the tower itself. How odd. I was pleasantly surprised when a young Parisian girl took residence beside me on the bench. She cheerfully introduced herself. Her name was Renée, and she was a lifelong resident of the area. She was awaiting the next semester to attend the College of Fine Arts. She looked forward to a pleasant future as an artist. What was I doing in Paris? I explained my quest as simply doing some extended research on a topic. I was a law enforcement officer from the States. It was more of a pleasure trip than a business venture for me. I said I would be dining alone tonight. Might she like to accompany me to supper this evening? We could chat further. She agreed. I was quite proud of myself. We met at the restaurant and I requested a table for two. There would be a slight delay, as they were rather busy at the moment. We would wait. They suggested we might wait in the lounge area, and together we sat in anticipation of our table. She was indeed a talkative lass, full of humor and smiles. We were ushered to our table. We talked together. Her parents had died, and her grandmother had taken her in. What was her grandmother's occupation? She laughed. Her grandfather had been a munitions dealer. He had developed a mining supply company that dealt in explosives. Her grandmother owned the now discontinued storefront that housed various types of high-grade explosives, but she desired to retire completely. And if the store could be sold, she would use the funds to pursue her education. Quite noble a plan, with an interesting backstory. We ate and I enjoyed the evening with her. After bidding her good night, I made my way to the site under cover of darkness. I was interested in the out-of-place restroom. I entered to investigate, and what I found was of note. After searching, a passage was found hidden under a ventilation duct. I climbed into the darkness and found an unbelievable sight. A space saucer and a seemingly command center. It was incredible. This was the reason for the toy boats. Mortimer had given Bella the directions to the alien base. He was not insane, just feigning it. I returned to my flat to think on the patio. Mortimer was involved with the explosion at the hidden laboratory. There had been those reports of disturbance at that site. They had enlisted the wealth of the Goth Empire to finance their rebuilding of their craft. They had attempted to build a race of monsters from my fellow Sims through mutation. They had discarded the failed attempts. Several members of government were involved. They eliminated them one by one. They had tried to stop me with the killing my wife and my daughter. It had not worked. As I pondered these new revelations to me, I saw her. Bella Goth. She was in Paris, near the tower. I knew I had to work quickly. The human race would depend on it. I'm afraid that I was left with only one option now, and it would be spectacular. I called Renée. Might she introduce me to her grandmother? Her grandmother was a sharp-looking woman, wise with age and grace. She told me of her husband's exploits and his business venture. She was the sole owner of the shop full of his wares. I inspected the many devices and wares. There were canisters of gases and drums of accelerants, along with several suitcase devices of C4 explosive. I made her an offer to purchase the lot, and told her to please send the billing to Mrs. Bellegoth, of The Sims 4. I next paid a visit to a vehicle dealership. I made my way to the manager's office, and inquired of a purchase. What did he have available? He suggested a used news company van. It had just been traded in for a newer model. It was once used by the local television station. He offered me a look to see if it might suit my requirements. We went to the back of the lot. It was perfect. Nondescript and easily recognized locally without drawing much attention. He insisted on the soundness of the vehicle, and it could be purchased for a reasonable price, if I wanted it. I did and again assigned the billing to a Mrs. Bellegoth in the States. I was sure she wouldn't mind. I had it to be delivered to my location, and next went to secure contents of my newly acquired store. After loading my van to its full capacity, I went back to my room to await the nightfall. It was an anxious time, and I made use of the window to look for Bella. She was out there somewhere. I was sure of it. But had she also deciphered the clues? I did not yet know. As night arrived, I made my way to the tower in my van. I parked, and quickly carried the contents downward into the secret landing. I placed them in strategic areas and I carefully primed the devices. It was then that she appeared from the shadows. Bella had found the secret. She was furious at me. She tried to reason with me, most likely to distract me with her charms once more, but I fought her and took advantage of my physical prowess. Suddenly it appeared I had slapped the disguise from her. She transformed into an alien. It was surreal to say the least. We fought viciously and I was sure she was trying to kill me. She did not. We fought until she abruptly ran toward the corner of the room, where she promptly entered a machine like the professor's and vanished from my sight. I had no time to follow and suspected she might return with numbers too great for me to defeat, and left immediately to complete my task. I ran from the Eiffel Tower and gathered my courage. I detonated the devices. I had just successfully destroyed the Eiffel Tower of Paris. It was gone. But I now had a new worry. If Mortimer was human and Bella was an alien, what of Cassandra?